Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I did a bunch of errands, but while I was out I found a really cheap travel set of watercolors that I wanted to try out for the channel because these are really inexpensive. They're about $7.50 Canadian, so probably about $5 US. Or whatever the equivalent is in your currency. And mostly I liked it because the tin is so cute. It's got a little thumb rest on the back, and it has a pretty good selection of colors for a cheap watercolor palette. And then this paper here is also a more inexpensive option. I'll show you here. It's by the Artist's Loft brand right there, which is a brand that they sell at Michael's. I don't know if, yeah, it is. It's their affordable art brand. See, it says Michael's right there. This is just a $7 25 sheet 90-pound pad of watercolor paper, and it has a pretty nice texture. So we'll see how these materials perform by my standards, I guess. But I also wanted to make this video about my lizard a little bit. I have a lizard. He's a Nigerian Euromastix, so he's Euromastix Gary or Garai, and his name is Cicero. So I took a picture of him and based this little drawing on it. It looks a little bit cartoony, but I think it'll be cute. So we'll see how it goes with painting it. And I'm going to use only the things in this palette. So it comes with a pretty nice overlay here, so you know what colors you get. They're all hues, basically. Which is not surprising. A vermilion hue instead of a cad red light, a viridian hue instead of actual viridian. And then they have Prussian blue and ultramarine. They didn't include a cerulean, which is also not surprising because that's an expensive pigment, and the hues are, I don't know, they leave something to be desired. So it's got this little plastic tray here. You can take this out and have a bigger mixing space, which I think I'm going to do. I don't really care for tiny spaces, and I think that this is going to be a pretty monochromatic painting anyway. So I guess I'll just bend this out of the way and leave that there. You could probably use this space for mixing too, and you can use the top here. So I think I will, I don't know. See, this is a bit odd because it just like flaps over my painting. I'm just gonna cut it off. But anyway, we haven't had Cicero for very long. We've had him for a few weeks or maybe a month already. And he likes to climb on things, and he likes to dig in his enclosure, and he's a bit skittish. We can't really tell if he likes us. He's a lizard. I'm not expecting him to be as cuddly as a mammal might be, but as a kid I only ever had hamsters, and they're not super cuddly anyway. They're soft, but they never seemed to want to be around me. So we'll see how Cicero does. We're trying to get a little extra weight on him, get him a little pudgier. But he's already starting to be a lot more brightly colored than he was in the pet store we got him from. So that's a good sign. I'm by no means an expert on having reptiles. This is the first reptile that we've had. But he only eats vegetables, which is great because our town doesn't have a ton of options for purchasing like pet food. So I didn't want to get a lizard that would need bugs and stuff because there's like one pet store and it's going out of business, and they definitely don't stock bugs at Walmart. So it would be like me ordering crickets off Amazon or something. So something sounds weird about that. So far I kind of like how bright and creamy these are. I've had some other like little cake pan watercolor palettes in the past, and they've been like not like creamy feeling. These re-wet really easily, I guess is what I'm saying, which is pretty nice. I've not used any other Daler Rowney supplies before, actually. I sort of graduated straight to student grade and professional grade supplies. When I started buying supplies on my own, it was basically from the art college's store, and they only stocked like Golden and Winsor & Newton, and that's it. So that's what I've mostly been using since then. Let's see, try to get this to shade down a little bit, do a little bit of fancy mixing. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, so we'll see how these dry, and you guys could definitely let me know, have you ever kept a Euromastix, or do you have reptiles as pets? I'm trying to do the best I can to have a happy little animal. We check on him and make sure he's eating, make sure he gets up. Sometimes he likes to sleep most of the day, but he'll very often come out and get his lettuce, and then other days he's like running around like crazy in his enclosure doing whatever he feels like. Today he's been doing a lot of climbing and a lot of digging. I'll insert some clips here. He was digging today. It's really good to see him burrowing. That's a natural behavior for his species. And he only started doing that recently because we got him a smaller hide. The hide we got on the first day when we picked him up, I think, was too big for him. We kind of overestimated his size because we couldn't, you know, test him inside it. But he seems to like small corners. So we just wanted to provide him with something that made him feel comfortable, and I think it does because he's been spending more time in there. He's been burrowing inside his hide, which is super cute. He's very good at digging. Now this paper here is buckling a little bit, and you can see that on the video more than I can see that in real life. It's not really bothering me too much. And for paper, that's like $7. I don't really care. If I was doing a big important piece, I would stretch this paper, but I've just got it taped down, so no worries. Yeah, I think so far I don't really have a problem with this set at all, especially for it being $7.50. I think my biggest problem is that I don't know, I think, see, because this is a burnt sienna, it's not a burnt umber. I feel like a burnt umber would be slightly more useful here. Like, you already have a cadmium yellow hue and a vermilion hue, so you can mix those bright browns I feel like I wish that this burnt sienna was actually a burnt umber, just to give you more neutrals. Obviously you can neutralize it with the blues, like the Prussian blue and the ultramarine blue, but I just tend to paint a little more neutral overall, I think. I mean, I love burnt sienna, but if you were to switch it out, like, if there's one complaint here, I would rather have like a burnt umber, or a burnt umber instead of the deep alizarin crimson, although that's nice too. And I guess me wanting a slightly more neutral brown is just lazy, because obviously you can mix it anyway. But it's nice that like this set doesn't waste space with a black or a white, especially for watercolor. Like, you don't really need black or white for watercolor. That's more of a gouache or an opaque technique kind of thing. But it's nice that they have a yellow ochre and they have 2 greens in here. That's a good arrangement of colors. It definitely, like, it feels like a good, well thought out watercolor set. Like for $7.50, it doesn't feel like it's made for kids or something, you know? It's like made for people who want to do watercolors. I think what I'm going to do with this painting is I'm going to do it all in washes like this, and then I think I'll probably finish it with a fine liner and just make it sort of a want to give it maybe a bit of a technical drawing feel, like give it some yeah, some stippling and some hatching or something like that. I've been doing a lot of stippling and hatching at work, which is kind of a pain, like it, you know, doing that for 8 hours a day. really hurts my eyes after a while, but it has a really nice finish, I think. So I'll do that with these after I'm done the final wash here. One thing with this particular species of Uromastyx is that they can come in either red or yellow, and our boy, he's a red Nigerian Uromastyx, so he's pretty orange looking. He can probably get even redder. The older they get, the more colorful they get, and the more fat and rotund and adorable. But also, like, been calling him a he. I'm pretty sure he's a he, but there's so much color variation in these lizards that it's like, it's pretty hard to tell. So I guess if he lays eggs one day, then we'll know. Obviously there's other ways to tell, but I'm not an expert, and I don't want to like give you guys false information. That's probably something better asked of a professional reptile keeper, like in a zoo or institution or something like that. I'm gonna try to do a big wash for his tail here. Probably just put a lot of crazy colors in it. I think that'll be nice. Put that in there. A little bit too much blue there. Try to blend that out. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I really wish this set had a burnt umber. I think that would be really good. Just something really dark, but you know, I'm doing all right. I'm just lazy, I guess. I can mix these colors, but wouldn't it be nice if there were a few fewer steps to mixing those colors? Yeah, I'm really liking the effect that these washes have. I think in using a limited palette, you're forced to mix more, and that makes your washes separate more, if that makes sense. If that's not what you're going for, definitely something like using a brand that has more specialty colors like Daniel Smith will help you, but I like it when my washes do something a little unexpected. I think that's quite beautiful. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but especially in his foot here where it's drying, we're getting a nice line around the edge, and it's splitting off into blues and greens within the brown, which I'm digging that. I'm into that. I actually quite like this set. I was like, oh, if I don't like this set, I can just use the tin for something else. But actually they're performing really nicely. I'm sure if I went in depth and did tons of layers, I would notice the difference between this and professional watercolors, but like I'm basically only doing one layer on this. I might go through and do a bit of a second layer, but I think there's something useful to just like being minimal sometimes. You know, I don't think I would use this set to paint a very complex landscape. I don't think it would have the layering power for that. And you would definitely run through certain amounts of these colors faster than others, which is why it's nice to have tubes, because you just get overall way more paint. But like for simpler things like this, you can get away with pretty much any level and quality of supplies. You know, if you don't push the paper to its limits, you know, this is an inexpensive paper, so probably heavier washes would irreparably warp it, or make it tear, which would be even worse. But like, just for a cute little illustration like this, no problem. Now that I live in a smaller town and it's harder to get a wide variety of art supplies, like basically all they sell here is Daler Rowney at the Walmart and like stationery, like normal stationery stuff. I've been trying other things and cheaper papers because I can't readily go to the bigger art stores in the city. And a lot of people order art supplies online, but it's actually not very cheap to do that in Canada. I've definitely spent a lot of time surfing Amazon and stuff like that, like looking for cheaper art supplies that I can order, but it's, you know, you're still spending quite a lot, and not every brand is eligible for Amazon Prime in Canada, and a lot of things end up quite inflated because they're shipping from the States rather than being imported by a local store. So yeah, I don't know, we get like all of our art supplies are more expensive than they are in other places. Like the European brands are really expensive. The American brands are still pretty expensive. They get much more reasonable if someone's already imported them and you can just go buy them at a store. But yeah, ordering stuff online, you pay so much for just for getting things across the border in Canada. Okay, and these flowers behind him are going to be dandelions because he really likes to eat dandelions. It's the best use for dandelions I've ever discovered, feeding them to your lizard. And we feed him a couple of them every few days or so, or like a couple, like if he doesn't come out of his hole, we don't give him a dandelion. Like if he's moping, which sometimes he's lazy and he just mostly stays in his hide and digs in there, and that's fine. Usually if he does that, then he's got more energy the next day anyway. And reptiles can go a little while without eating, so it's not much of a concern. I guess if your dog slept through the whole day without waking up or doing anything at all, you'd be worried because they're a mammal and they live a little different lifestyle than reptiles. Reptiles are a bit of a mystery. Trying to figure them out and be a good reptile parent, reptile owner. Let's see if we can mix sort of a nice green now. I'll move the palette a little closer. I'm going to take some of this cadmium yellow hue, which is not cadmiums because it's just a hue. Yeah, I kind of like this limey green color. Put a little more of the other greens on there. Ooh, that's a bit much. Just trying to keep it kind of neutral to match the rest of the painting. I don't want these greens to be overpowering. There we go. Give this one a stem. Yeah, I'll give this one a stem too. I think that'll be nice. Yeah, I quite like that. I think I'm gonna leave that there in terms of the watercolor wash. I'm gonna let it dry and then I will probably come in and finish it mostly with this Pilot fine liner. It's a really nice like a burnt sienna color or a terracotta color, and then maybe a little bit of these other two brown pens if I need something darker. Overall, I think that's a thumbs up from me for this Daler Rowney mini travel set. It's actually pretty nice. And it's got actually, that's cute. It has a little primary, secondary mixing sheet on here. It says, to keep colors fresh and bright, limit yourself to mixes of only 2 or 3 colors and don't overmix. Well, I want dark browns, so I'm not listening to that. But yeah, it's a cute little set. I think I'll use it until I use it up, and then I'll repurpose this cute tin for something else. And I think also this paper is like totally fine for sketching. It's fine. I have no strong feelings about it. It's not like 100% cotton paper where it's like painting on it is so dreamy. This is pretty plain. But I hope you liked this video. Stick around and I'll give you a bit of a sped up pen video because it sort of takes me a little while to do the hatching and stippling, and this would be a million years long if we left that part at real time. But let me know what you think of these supplies. Have you used them before? And do you have a lizard? I definitely want to know if you guys have a lizard. All right, enjoy the rest of this footage and have a great day.